What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another long awaited show. Man, it's been a long week. The Lakers have vastly improved on their roster, man. Like, it's unbelievable what they did. They were a championship team and they got better. That is incredible. The Dodgers, on the other hand, they're standing pat. They haven't made any big moves, any big splashes. They haven't re signed any of their players that are free agents. But a lot of noise is being made. A lot of players out there are connected to the Dodgers that we definitely got to talk into. But before we get into all that, I want to bring on someone new that met through our Dodgers Lowdown show, which you guys can follow down here, down at the Dodgers Lowdown. Make sure you guys follow them. That's where we post news, rumors, all that information for the Dodgers will get you up to date, up to notice, get you on stop. So with that, let me introduce you guys. Jacob. How you doing, Jacob?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. So you're new to this whole scene of video, I guess video chats, video calls.
Yeah, I'm pretty new to it. I write for Dodgers Lowdown
Mm-hmm.
and Halo Hangout.
Yes, sir. So Halo Hangout, as if you guys don't know, Halo Hangout is an Angels affiliate. So Jacob, you're an Angels fan.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, primarily you're an Angels fan. Look, don't go on my page. You'll see a lot of slander on there. So I'm gonna just let you know right ahead of time. There's a lot of slander on there for Angels. But tell everybody how did you get like how did the Angels come into your life?
Yeah, so I've basically been an Angels fan for at the start. Um, I went to a lot of Angel games, me and my family, and they just kind of stuck with me as far as the team goes. And then once I started getting into sports writing, I met a couple of guys through social media, and they said, "Hey, we have an Angels website. You want to write for us?" And so I accepted. And after that, I was going through college and stuff, not really knowing what I wanted to do yet. And that's when I went into Dodgers Lowdown and asked them if I can join. And so that's where I'm at right now with those
So
two websites.
so you get to see like the Dodgers moves, roster, and everything from a different point of view. Everybody on Dodgers Lowdown is a Dodger fan, but you get to see it from a completely different aspect, from an outsider's point of view. So based on what you see, let me ask you this: there's a lot of people out there that don't consider this a World Series championship year. Like it's not, it's an asterisk year. But to you, honestly, like how do you view this season?
Yeah, so in one of the articles I wrote, I did mention about the people saying there this is an asterisk, this is like kind of like a fake ring, a false year, and I had said no, this is definitely a real championship with, I mean, all the players played, right? I
Yep.
mean, it was a 16 team playoff, and it the players went through it. They grinded, they went through their ups, they went through their downs, and I mean, if people want to say it's an asterisk year, I mean, go for it. But in my mind, it's a legit year. The Dodgers were good, and honestly, if they went the full 162, I think they still probably would have won.
Oh, really? Okay. See, that's interesting. I had my doubts with the Dodgers for a moment there, especially when they went down 3-1 against the Braves. I had my doubts. I even started slandering it. I went off. I went, that angry fan base. But that's good to hear that, someone outside of Dodgers fan base actually considers this an actual ring year. Congratulations to you and surviving right now. You survived the first round. But let's talk about the Angels real quick. There's a lot of things that they need to improve on. Mike Trout, let's be honest, the past couple of years have been wasted. You added Jason Hayward, you added a couple of players, they haven't panned out. Albert Pujols is now like, if he hits a single, he's probably not gonna make the first base before that ball gets there. He's gonna be an out, even on a single. But how do you feel about the Angels and what potentially can be made moving forward with a new GM and a new manager?
Yeah, so I was pretty skeptical on where they were going to go with their general manager, just because they had a lot of candidates to go through, and they ended up on Perry Manazian, I believe is
Yeah.
how he pronounces his last name. And I mean, I like the move. He comes from the Atlanta Braves, and I mean, he has a great knowledge of baseball, great knowledge background, and right now as it stands, it's pretty interesting because he's going to be going into it with a team that's pretty much locked and loaded, just except with pitching, and that's where his job's going to be with. And I know that he even said it in his introduction interview. He said pitching is going to be the main focus that he's going to be doing, and so not just with I think acquiring pitching, but I think even from scouting level, I think they just need a full on like rebuild of their pitching because it hasn't been good even from their own system throughout.
Yeah, I agree with that. I could agree with that. Yo, so the Angels are look. I've been saying it for like a while now. Ever since that scandal came out with the Astros, I instantly the first thing that came to my head was the Angels should have won the division in 2017, if not the A's. And 2018 and 2019 should have been A's. Like undoubtedly, it should have been A's. And you see what happened in 2020 with the Astros. So you guys have a legitimate case at being pissed off at the Astros because honestly, 2017 should have been you guys. You guys were probably the better team in 2017 without cheating. 2017 happened, all that I still talk about. I'm still gonna talk about. I'm gonna die. My last dying breath is probably gonna be fuck the Astros. That's probably gonna be the thing that I'm gonna say last. But the Dodgers though, they kept building and building and build and staying relevant regardless of what was going on, and we just saw them win this World Series. My question to you is, do you think they can repeat in 2021?
I do believe that they can repeat in 2021. I don't really see why not. I know that the Padres are obviously going to be there now. They've proven it. They're going to stay relevant for quite a while with all their talent. But the Dodgers, they still keep on pumping out prospects. They keep on. It's just like a factory. They're just one after the other.
Mm-hmm.
With Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, I mean, Corey Seager now. You got a bunch of these younger prospects that turn into stars, and so I mean it's kind of being hard to like see like, hey, when are they going to slow down? I don't really see them slowing down.
Yeah, yeah. What was your best moment from the Dodgers World Series?
My best moment was probably honestly the that 15 run
First
game
inning.
yeah, that first inning against the Braves, just because watching them play the Braves, it was just like, where's the offense? I know the offense is there, and it's a stack lineup, but they're just not hitting. And so once they just start pouring it on in Texas, I was just like, there's the offense that we've seen like pretty much the whole season. So, I mean, it was cool to see them just like go out and just hit home run after home run, and then follow that up with coming back from behind
Yeah,
in the series.
yeah. So here's my thing. I want to see where your thought is. My defining moment to where the Dodgers came back from the 3-1 deficit to win it, to me personally, was Justin Turner's heads up play. I think that was the moment in which we all like I saw it as damn. If it wasn't for that heads up play with Justin Turner diving, getting that out, and realizing there's someone still going to third, turning around and getting that out, I might have been Swansby that got the out. I forgot who it was, but Corey Seager being there, alert, and getting that out on the leg was another key thing. So I think that was a moment where the Dodgers finally got that 3-1 deficit and win it. But for you, where would you say is the defining moment?
For me, I think the defining moment was just overcoming the Braves overall. I mean, it was just a battle, an all-out battle between those two great teams, and I know that the Braves didn't really like roll over. They had a tough team to face with the Marlins
Yeah, they did.
going into it. So I mean, they in their own right, they do also deserve to be in that World Series conversation. So I mean, to say like the Dodgers just like went through the whole series like easy, no, they had two great teams, and I think we saw like a great series.
Yeah. What about that Will Smith home run that essentially put them over the hump as well?
Oh, that was a great home run for him. I mean, I was kind of waiting for to see like I know Will Smith has been like a great hitter, and so just to see him kind of get his moment and then just kind of putting him over that pedestal was awesome to see.
Yeah. Um, so let's talk about Justin Turner. He's gonna be a free agent. I want him back. A lot of fans want him back. I definitely think he still has a lot in the tank to play, and especially in the hot corner.
Mhm.
I don't know how much he's gonna ask for, but I see him as a guy that'll take a discount of
Right.
I guess a city discount. I forgot what the term is. There's a term for this, like for being part of the organization for so long, giving him the opportunity, taking care of him, and just being part of his life and legacy. So I think Justin Turner is a guy that deserves everything, and it sucks that Manfred, and I'm taking this as a conspiracy theory, that Manfred took winning the title on the field away from him, because we all know that Justin Turner was the only one that had COVID, but yet the reports are out there from players and other officials that were there that they were going to go play golf. They were out partying. The people that were there in the stands in the audience, they were pre-game or post-game outside dancing, singing, celebrating, no social distancing. People that were in the stadium were also stating there was no social distancing. This whole mess, there's a whole mess about this, and Justin Turner ended up paying the price. So I think Justin Turner deserves better. We shouldn't jump on him. But what do you think about this whole I guess scandal, I guess you could say, with Justin Turner and the whole COVID situation?
Yeah, so obviously we know that Justin Turner wasn't punished, and so I do believe he didn't need to be punished to begin with. Um, you mentioned it already. You saw there was fans. There was, I mean, even with having fans in the stadium, I feel like you're already kind of like promoting, like, hey, we're gonna do this regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like it shouldn't be put on Justin Turner. The blame shouldn't be put on him. It should be more on Major League Baseball as a whole, even if they're the ones kind of pointing the fingers and saying, "Hey, it's Turner's fault. It's the Dodgers' fault." No, I don't think that it's their fault at all. And to basically say, "Hey, we're one of your star players needs to go sit down. He has COVID. He needs to go isolate." And I mean, it just didn't seem right to just kind of put all the blame on him when I think actually, as a whole organization, Major League Baseball needed to handle it a little bit better in terms of media outlet and just getting their word out there.
Okay, that's good to hear. I mean, everybody really, even some Dodger fans jumped on Justin Turner, uh,
Mhm.
saying it was negligent and kind of downright disrespectful. But honestly, you had Corey Seager, Mookie Betts, Dave Roberts, who had cancer and requested. They were all demanding Justin Turner come out and celebrate with them. So it wasn't like Justin Turner said, "Screw you guys, I'm going out there." No, Justin Turner said, "No, I'm not going out there." He even said it to the players, "I'm not going out there. I don't want to expose you guys." And you had the players forcing him out. So it's it's kind of messed up the way it went down. But Justin Turner would be a great thing. And I don't know if you heard anything about the DH, but I've heard that the DH might not be coming back in 2020, but it is on the schedule to be talked about with the new agreement in 2021. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but Justin Turner is definitely a player that could benefit from the DH in the National League coming back for the Dodgers, especially because the Dodgers benefited from this the most. They could have had Edwin Rios one night. They could have had Chris Taylor, Kike Hernandez, Jock Peterson, Justin Turner if he was not feeling well with the hamstring. They had options at the DH. But for bringing back Justin Turner, what are your expectations and where he could possibly land?
Yeah, so you already mentioned it. They're ongoing Well, they're gonna bring up the DH, and so that'll be a conversation to be had for sure. And I think with the DH, I think Turner can be brought back. And I mean, why wouldn't they want to bring back their star player?
Yeah.
And I think it'll just be a healthy relationship between both sides. I mean, Turner probably wants to come back. He's basically, like you said, it's a legacy type of thing where he can just come back and the team's ready to roll back again. And then from the Dodgers, you have a third baseman who's obviously still has a lot left in the tank to prove. And then also, I mean, the fans love him. So why not just bring him back? Like you said, I'm not too sure where they're going on pricing, and I'm still unsure where they're going to just land on it. But I think it's going to be a happy reunion. Why wouldn't you just want Turner locked up? You're staying as a Dodger. You basically found yourself here, and just stay here.
It's crazy to think what the Mets did, like that whole fiasco that went on before the new ownership. But Justin Turner was one of the things that obviously the Dodgers capitalized on and gained profit from, and he's been tremendous fan favorite. He does so much for the community. Robert Clemente, winner, so much. He pretty much represents LA. Lakers, he's there. Dodgers, he's there. Galaxy, he's there. Kings, he's there. He's everything LA. He's born and raised in LA, Fullerton nearby. So Justin Turner definitely needs to come back, not just because he's a fan favorite, but because of what he represents, what he does, and who he is as a person. That's the type of person we need. Now, here's one thing, and I'm glad that you're from the outside and you can see this in. For years, I've been saying when Yasiel Puig was with the Dodgers, everybody hated the Dodgers. I mean, they still do. I kept saying, look, we have to embrace the villain role. When we would hear Joe Buck, John Smoltz, even during this postseason run, they would just downright bash the Dodgers and focus more on the Padres, especially this postseason. Everybody was more focused on the opposing team rather than the Dodgers. They would slander the Dodgers. Whenever they mentioned the Houston Astros scandal, they talk about it in a way where it was, we got to move forward and move on from it because it was a mistake. We all learn from mistakes, where in fact it was a cheating allegation that cost a lot of players money, a lot of players their careers. Things happen. And I've been saying it, the Dodgers need to embrace the villain role. The Yankees did that through the 90s and the 2000s. They won their titles. They were hated. They were America's the highest payroll for years. The Dodgers are there now. We're still hated on. No matter how much good we do, we're still hated on. So from your perspective, am I on the right subject where the Dodgers should just full on just start doing tactics and start doing these little things that really get under people's skin and make them the actual villain?
I mean, from a outside looking in, I think the villain term, I like how you use the villain term just because, I mean, they kind of are like a bully just to like the NL West. They win it every year.
Yeah.
And the playoffs are successful. And so it's just like, I mean, what more do you need to see from a team that's already like kind of proven themselves? And where do we give them credit, like outside looking in? And so I definitely think that they deserve the credit where it's due. I think like larger media needs to like actually kind of give the Dodgers a break. And it's like, hey, they were the better team. They won it all. They have the talent to keep winning. And I mean, their plan works, their process works. And so it's like these people are like, they have so much talent. They have like loads and loads of talent. It's like, we other markets can do that too. It's just like, it's almost like jealousy because
Hey, I
you're
like
like,
that.
yeah, you're like saying like, hey, we're just better because we're using a better model than you, or like our process is better, or any of that. So I think other larger like market teams can do the same thing. And so they don't really need to just be bashing on one individual team just because they see them winning and like they don't see them slowing down like the Dodgers, the Yankees. And so it's just like you can use that model and then probably apply it to another larger market team. Say even like you mentioned, the Angels can probably do the same thing.
Yeah.
They got money. I mean, the New York Mets, even the new owner of the Mets, Steve Cohen, had mentioned the Dodgers in high regards.
Yeah.
He even said he likes the Dodgers plan and their model. So I mean, I can probably even see the Mets being the Dodgers in New York.
Oh man, how many billions is Steve Cohen worth? Do you know?
uh,
I think I've
I,
heard that he's like 20 billion.
yeah, like 20 or 30 billion. But
Oh
I
my god.
mean, I don't think. I mean, I don't think it's all going to go to payroll, obviously. But I mean, you got to figure their budget's going to be pretty huge.
Yeah. Oh my
For their
god. Yeah, Steve Cohen. That's the Steve Ballmer of the MLB. So
yeah.
that's gonna be interesting to come up with. But Justin Turner needs to get locked up ASAP. The Blue Jays have interest in him, and I just don't like it. We need Justin Turner back, locker room presence, all the great things that he does and represents. So we definitely need Justin Turner back. Now, as for like Jock Peterson and Kike Hernandez, who were also free agents, do you think the Dodgers should consider bringing either one of them or both of them back?
As far as players like one or two, I mean, I'd probably let Peterson go just because the Dodgers have obviously made it known. They tried to trade him to the Angels, basically saying, hey, our outfielder's on the market. And so I was kind of surprised to see like they didn't go to a different team and say, "Hey, do you want them?" I mean, their their outfield is loaded, and I mean it's a good problem to have, definitely. And so there's going to be tougher competition there. And I think as far as just it's going to come down to fan favoritism, where I think Dodger fans, if they see one of them leave, they're kind of just going to be like, "Man, I wish he was back." And so, I mean, they kind of just need to see the process of where they're going. You guys have so many outfielders
Yeah.
and just like studs that you don't really need a Peterson or a Kike Hernandez.
The problem with that is Jock Peterson. He's so terrible during the regular season, but in the postseason, he just becomes Babe Ruth. Like he just
Mm-hmm.
finds a way to like hit the ball, connect, and make the right plays, and it's crazy sometimes. But how mad were you when Art Moreno just said, "Nah, I'm not gonna wait for anything. I'm just gonna pull. I don't want the trade anymore. I don't want Ross Stripling. I don't want Jock Peterson." And then you see what Ross Stripling and Jock Peterson do, and like how upset were you, or were you just like shrugged it off?
Oh no, I was pretty upset with it. I was kind of furious because it was just like the trade worked for both ways. You were getting a offensive piece that you can plug into the lineup,
Yeah,
and then you're getting a mid rotation, like kind of your fourth or fifth rotation guy in Ross Stripling, and we needed pitching, obviously. So I mean, I was pretty upset to see them just the owner say, "Hey, this is taking too long. We're just going to call off the trade." And I think if I mean it's going to come down to patience because even reporters were saying it's going to get done. This Mookie Betts deal was going to get done. It was just a matter of when.
yeah.
And I kind of just blame Artie Moreno for that decision, but I mean they got to move on from it. I mean at least now, if you had asked me this like the day of finding out that he canceled the trade, I probably would have been more mad. But I think at this point now, Angel fans just need to let it go and just kind of move on. And I mean, it sucks, but I mean, what else can you do? There's plenty of other players, and I think they just need to get over it. This was at the start of the season.
I mean, yeah, yeah. It wasn't even start of the season, but yeah, it was like there, and yeah, it happens. Yeah, it happens. It happens. Look, it happens. It happens. But he's a free agent now, so maybe you guys pick him up in free agency without giving up anything. Maybe pick up both Kike and Jock, and they benefit you guys. You just never know. Things happen. Let's talk about the big fish. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Nolan Arenado. We all know that for years now he's been unhappy in Colorado. They gave him the contract under false pretenses in 2017. Or no, it was 2018. In 2018, they took the Dodgers to game 163. I mean, they had the opportunity to take the West in 2018. Then they failed the last 10 games. I think there was a team out there that was tanking to let them win and get the National League West. Arenado was promised they were going to rebuild around him. Trevor Story is going to perform better. They let DJ LeMahieu go, who was obviously the best piece that they had. Now you see him in New York and see what he's done, MVP caliber. And then now they're starting to rebuild. They don't know where the farm system is. They don't have a pitching staff. They don't have anything outside from Arenado and Trevor Story. Charlie Blackmon's in the back end of his career. They don't really have anything going on, so you already know Arenado is upset. The rumors are coming out now that the Dodgers are calling and trying to figure out how they can get an Arenado trade going. Do you think this can happen? Arenado to the Dodgers.
Yes, I do think it can happen. I mean, like you just said, there's the elephant in the room. It's the big player. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's just another star player. You already have Mookie Betts, but then you add Nolan Arenado to this. Well, now you're talking something else. I had written a piece on Dodgers Lowdown already, like kind of like pitching my idea to go get Nolan Arenado, just because he's that good. And
Yeah.
if you're gonna be the villains of the West,
Oh my God.
I mean, you might as well, right? I
Yeah.
mean, who doesn't like Nolan Arenado? And you guys already have the prospects for it. So I definitely think that there's an area that they can go get him. And I even saw in like articles online, they said it's not going to be whether you want Turner or Arenado. It's going to be whether you want Arenado or Seager, because
Oh,
Seager's contract is going to be coming up in, I believe, a
next
year
year.
or two
Next year. Yeah.
next year. Yeah. So it's just going to come down to which player you're going to want more, because I'm pretty sure Arenado is going to opt out of his contract that he signed with Colorado. and he's gonna want more money. And I think the Dodgers can even pull off like a Mookie Betts, extend him, and then just basically have this like juggernaut of a team. And then also you have ARENADO, who's kind of tired of losing in Colorado. So if he's going to LA where he's from, I mean, you might as well sign him because he gives you that competitive edge and the whole World Series hangover that people talk about. Like they win the World Series and then they start to struggle right out
Yep.
of the gate. I think you sign Arenado to an extension and you just run with it because Arenado's a beast when it comes to like actual talent, just like pure raw skill. And he's fired up because on that I believe the Father's Day game, he had like blood coming out of like his head and like he walked it off for him and like the fans were cheering and I was just like, that's who you want on your team
Yeah.
because he's just he's he's the guy. He's
Mm-hmm.
another one that's just gonna light a fire under your team.
So Nolan Arenado's contract right now, well, the Mookie Betts deal works so great because they just front loaded the contract, and his actual 12-year contract doesn't start until next season. So this was just a preview, and he ran second place. Shout out to Freddie Freeman, he deserved that MVP. But Mookie Betts did it both ways on offense and defense. So second place and MVP on a new league, big, huge, huge, and his contract starts next season. So I can only expect a repeat of what he did this year. But Nolan Arenado's contract, I mean, right now, 35 million. He's still owed. Damn, he's still owed a good amount of money. He's making an average 35 million per year. If he could restructure that contract where they front loaded just like they did with Mookie Betts, give him like 60 or 70 right off the bat, that leaves room in the luxury cap to sign players in the future. Then you could, re-sign Corey Seager, because Corey Seager, what he did as well, man, you gotta pay him. You just gotta open up the checkbook and give him a blank check, plain and simple. So Arenado definitely, I think he has. Doesn't he have a no trade clause or like something like that?
Yeah, so he has a no trade clause, a full no trade clause, I believe.
Okay.
So any team that comes up with an offer, he can just outright say no. But I there's writers that are saying he could waive it if it goes to the Dodgers or like a team that's really competitive and he sees them like long term success there. Because I with that kind of contract, I don't see him just like saying, "Nah, I'm done." Like we had a good run, whatever, and then I'm gonna be a free agent. I think he's gonna waive off his no trade clause, and then I think he's going to also do the go into free agency and cut his contract, and then want like a restructured deal or like a renegotiated deal, which will be obviously good for him and I think good for the team long term.
Damn. So he has a player option until 2022, and I mean the Dodgers essentially could wait till then. He did have a down year this previous year, but I don't know. Like Arenado coming to the Dodgers, he's 29. He's 29 right now. It's not, young. It's not old, but it's there in the middle. So it is interesting to see that he's gonna be making $35 million until he's 35. So it is a little too much and a little scary. A little scary because Andrew Jones happened for the Dodgers and he was just straight up garbage. But Arenado's definitely worth it right now. And having that lineup, I mean, how would you structure the Dodgers lineup if you include Arenado?
I mean, you can really just plug him anywhere. I mean, ideally, I think I see him like where he probably was with the Rockies, but like in that, I believe 3 or 4 spot. But
Yeah.
then like you're also have to deal with Bellinger, and then you're gonna have Seager for a year next year, obviously, and then you're gonna have Mookie Betts probably leading off. So I mean, it's a good problem to have again. So you're just gonna just Dave Roberts can pick and choose wherever he wants them. And I think if they struggle, he'll just reshuffle the order and just say, hey, go out there and bat fifth or bat sixth and just like go out there. And if you have runners on, drive them in.
That simple. Just
Yeah.
that simple. Cody Bellinger's getting his surgery, or he already got his surgery, and I think it was that time where he did that celebration with Kike that just popped his shoulder out and he had surgery on it. But as for Cody Bellinger, I don't understand the logic where you win the MVP and you decide to restructure your batting approach. Um, what do you think about that whole situation? Because he just had a straight up garbage year this season.
Yeah, so for Bellinger, I mean, we've even seen it in the postseason where he starts to struggle
Mm-hmm.
and he's even mad at himself. He knows he can do better. And I mean, you want that as a player. You want someone that says, hey, I know I can be better.
Yeah.
I'm going to prove it. I'm going to prove everyone wrong. And so I think with the whole celebration thing, I mean, it was just like a
Caught in the moment.
dumb thing, but just like kind of like a what the heck? Like, why'd that have to happen? I'm pretty sure he even kind of like kicked himself in the like foot maybe and just said, come on, I gotta do better than that. And so even I mean we even saw it. He was doing the whole like new celebration thing. Like I saw him like kicking his foot like
Oh
with the
yeah,
other
yeah.
that was like kind of a lighthearted moment saying, hey, yeah, I know I kind of like messed it up, but I definitely think that Bellinger like kind of just reapproaching like the way he swings and like the way he's kind of like playing because like you mentioned, he struggled, but I mean, this guy won MVP what like 2 or 3 seasons ago, so I'm like, he's still there.
Yeah.
I think he just needs to kind of just find it himself and just like relax. You're on a winning team. You don't have to be that like, hey, I need to be the star player. I need to go out there and hit like a walk off. No, you can just kind of relax, let the lineup do its thing. And if you get ARENADO, that's even benefit for Bellinger because less pressure.
Jesus Christ. Just Arenado. I think that's the only reason Colorado wouldn't want to trade him to the Dodgers, just for the mere fact that you're pretty much giving the Dodgers a championship again if you give them Arenado. Like you're just giving them straight up a championship, not just a great elite player, defensive. Oh my god, crazy. Gavin Lux, huge disappointment. This just outright disrespectful. We gave up Alex Verdugo for Mookie Betts. I can't be mad at that trade, but if I, at the moment, I preferred it being Gavin Lux because Alex Verdugo. What I look at players, what I really respect and love about players is their mentality more than their abilities on the field. Because in their mentality, they could obviously struggle and adhere through adversity. So there's so much that goes on when you have a strong mentality. That's what I like about Alex Verdugo. He was a stud on and off the field. He knew how to speak and he was well spoken. He was already a leader. Gavin Lux just looked lost and the Dodgers decided to go with Gavin Lux. What are your thoughts on Gavin Lux now? Or what do you think is the future with that Gavin Lux?
Yeah, so I mean, you had even said it with Alex Verdugo. I mean, they have this is again a benefit to having so many pieces that the Dodgers could have ended up trading Lux and then probably even getting more talent. But it just comes down to prospects themselves. We don't know how they're going to pan
Yeah.
out. Like you said, the mentality of the game. Is he going to get better? I mean, he can look at himself and just say, "Hey, like just like Bellinger, I need to do better," and they can improve. So I think that when it comes down to Lux himself, you just got to bite the bullet and just see how he does because I don't see there being like value right now for him. And then once you start to just kind of like, hey, relax, take it off, like take off that pressure and just do what you got to do, and then work with the hitting coaches or do what you got to do in the cage, and then seeing what seeing what he's capable of. I think once he starts to kind of like know, hey, I'm going to be here for a while because of his struggling, he'll kind of find it himself, and I think the Dodgers will benefit from that.
Oh, that's good. I mean, I guess there's at least someone believes in him because I certainly don't. I'm just straight up done with him, and I'm disappointed that we have Alex Verdugo, who had a great year in Boston. Despite everything, all the negativity out there with him, and it was a terrible year. But either way, the Dodgers are the champions. I'm pretty happy about that. But let's talk about free agency. Biggest player out there, Trevor Bauer. What are your thoughts on Trevor Bauer, and where do you think he's going to end up?
Yeah, so the biggest free agent of them all, like you said, Trevor Bauer, where is he going to go? I mean, he's been on social media. He's kind of like trolling the writers and stuff, which I think is hilarious because I don't know if you saw it, like he had like a promo where like he had like a bunch of like he did his lids promotion for the hats. And so he had like a bunch of hats like for
Oh,
each team where he was going to go. It was just pretty funny. And so I think just him having fun with it. I mean, it's good for the game because like
Yes.
he's kind of like just having fun with it. He knows he's gonna get paid. We just want we don't know where. And so my prediction for him, he's gonna come to LA. He's gonna go to the Dodgers. And yes, I do think the Dodgers kind of just open up the checkbook for him. Not go crazy, but at least give him enough money to say, all right, I'm gonna go hope you guys win another championship. And I think that he also benefits from the statistical point of view because the Dodgers, I mean, they lead in statistics. They go based off the data, they're analytically driven, and that's where Trevor Bauer excels at. He went to Driveline, which is like a pitching development program.
Kershaw went there, and David Price. No, not the Verlander went there. There was a couple pitchers older in their age and later in their careers that have been there and have benefited. Kershaw obviously as one of them. But yeah, I didn't know Trevor Bauer went to Driveline.
Yeah, so he went to Driveline. I know he's good buddies with the owner of Driveline, that Kyle Bodie,
Oh, okay.
and so he and his agent Rachel Luba kind of go down there. I think just kind of like say hi, just kind of chat it up with them and stuff. And so when he talked about free agency, I think he wants to go to like an analytically driven team, but I also think he wants to go to a fun team because that's, I mean, he his personality, just like when he was with Cincinnati and doing like the vlogs and stuff, he was funny. He was like reaching out to other players for interviews and stuff. So that was cool to see. And I think why not just bring it to LA where you already have Hollywood. So I mean, you might as well go out and say, hey, let's turn this thing into like a reality show, basically. But I mean, his talent's there. He's the best pitcher, probably. Well, he was the best pitcher in the National League, and I think it's just going to come down to what's the dollar sign at.
Yeah,
It's going to come down
right
to
there.
that dollar sign.
Yeah. Yeah, that right there. There's so many antics that he did. The one thing that did kind of like bum me out is he tried to have some cleats. They were customized. I forgot what he drew on them. It was something kind of controversial, but I think it was throwing shade at Manfred and MLB. And MLB hit him with that. Hey, you put them on, we're gonna fine you, and we'll probably suspend you. But yeah, I think that's the Trevor Bauer that the league needs. Do you remember a time where the Dodgers were Chase Utley? This is a while back, a couple years back. Chase Utley and the Dodgers were doing batting practice in some T-shirts. They were promoting cancer awareness, and there were some announcers there watching them during the game. They were just bashing them and saying that was, unprofessional, that was childish, and downright that does not belong in the game. So Trevor Bauer would essentially be someone that you would, I guess, capitalize so you could grow MLB, because you guys have Mike Trout. The Angels have Mike Trout. He's very reserved. That's one thing that I don't like about him. He's reserved. He doesn't talk a lot. He isn't social. None of that. He's like, you're never gonna get bad news out of Mike Trout. That's a great thing. But you're also not gonna get the promotion to grow MLB. Have you seen the trophy from the Dinos over at the Korean League? The trophy that they won?
The sword,
The
yes. I
sword.
see that.
Beautiful. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's incredible. Uh, See, we need something like that because MLB, in a sense, they make a lot of money. They're taken care of, but people rather go to the NFL. People rather go to the NBA. They see these players in the NBA make so much more money off shoe deals, their fashion lines, everything. They're more global. MLB doesn't have that. And you have Trevor Bauer, who essentially is saying, hey, I have marketability and you're not taking advantage of it. As far as MLB goes, where do you think? See, I have Trevor Bauer going to the Angels. You have him going to the Dodgers, which either way would benefit him because I think the Angels need pitching a lot more than the Dodgers do. And essentially, if he goes to the Angels, you can still market him, but Shohei Ohtani's over there. And what's the thoughts on Shohei Ohtani? What is the future looking like for Shohei Ohtani?
Right. So, like you said, you have Bauer going to the Angels, which I mean, as an Angels fan, would make anyone happy.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you're dealing with Artie Moreno again, and I know that from his interviews on Momentum, his YouTube channel,
Yeah.
which Bauer was. He was doing a dinner with Joe Adele, one of the top prospects for the Angels, and they were talking about analytics and stuff. And Adele was just saying that he was being silenced almost from the team itself. Like he wanted to post like something on Twitter and Instagram, and
Wow.
they said no, that you ain't doing
Wow.
it. And so Bauer was just kind of like shaking his head, kind of like looking at him like, really? Like that that's like we're trying to grow the game. Like, and so I mean, I don't think that's gonna really like be the end all say all to say, hey, he's not going to the Angels. But I think his media presence is gonna definitely play into it. I
Oh,
think they're
wow.
gonna be talking about like the whole his YouTube channel, how much he's gonna be like kind of like going out there and saying what he needs to say. And
Mm-hmm.
I think there's teams that are gonna encourage him, like the Dodgers themselves. I
Yeah.
think the Dodgers would just benefit from it, and they would say, "Hey, go ahead, post whatever you need to do, and we'll back you up." But there will be a certain line where there's the MLB will just say no, and
Oh my
they'll
God.
kind of put a stop on it, and people are just gonna be disappointed and just be like another loss on MLB. And I think he'll actually benefit from it because he's gonna be, hey, I'm promoting the game. This is
Yeah.
what we're doing. You guys said you have a marketing problem, and I'm a solution. So
Jeez, I didn't even know that the Angels were like that though. I thought, oh man, that's crazy. Um, yeah, and you can. Trevor Bauer is like too open, like he's too vocal. So that is gonna. I think that will play into his free agency. Ah, that's interesting. Well, that takes Trevor Bauer out of my Angels list. The well, I don't know. How do you think it'll happen? Do you think Trevor Bauer like a percentage? What's your percentage on Trevor Bauer as an Angel?
I would probably put him at least 50 to 60%. I mean, it's just like it's hard to judge it just because all these teams want him. Now you even have the New York Mets with Cohen and just his huge budget and saying, "Hey, let's go out there and just buy a whole team." And so I think it's gonna Bauer's gonna just gonna wait it out. I think there's no rush. We haven't even went into the winter meetings, so I think there's no real rush on this thing. I mean, it's gonna come down to again price tag, and then also what are you guys willing to do as far as media? Because I want my guys there. I've seen like their momentum channel. They're like
Yeah,
a family. They're really just like a ragtag team that they're just like making content. And they're enjoying it. And I like watching it as a fan. And so I think there's definitely going to be just like this, but it's going to come down to the waiting and then just seeing like what team's really going to benefit from just having Bauer overall as the person. Because obviously you're going to get the talent. We know that.
mm-hmm.
And I think with the analytics, the way they're going, I don't think he's going to slow down. So again, it's just going to come down to what he's going to want in price, and then if a team's willing to handle with like the media and stuff.
So, damn that, man. Do you think this pandemic's gonna take a hit on free agency? Like how much players could get paid?
That hasn't really. I mean, yeah, I was at first concerned because we did see like this whole thing of MLB's losing money and these owners are losing like millions and millions of dollars. But then we're seeing like these deals that are like getting done with like Robbie Ray with the Blue Jays get done. And then we're still seeing deals getting done like
Charlie
on the
Morton just ended up with the Atlanta Braves.
who is that?
Charlie Morton with the
Like
Braves.
yeah, Charlie Morton also ended up with the Braves. So I mean, I know that they probably did lose money, but I don't think it was enough to slow the market down. And I think Bauer's in a good camp, and pretty much every free agent that's kind of like iffy on it, but also has that talent, is gonna get paid well. My only concern is like those middle guys and those ones that are like tailing at the end of their career that are just like kind of just like gonna take a 1 year or like a flyer deal and just be like, hey, I'm gonna come try to win with you guys. So I think those guys are gonna really take the hit. The ones that are kind of like maybe getting like a $5 million deal, $10 million, but then like now the pandemic hit, So they're going to be the ones I think that are going to unfortunately take a hit. Well, I mean, if you're going while you're having like those top guys still getting paid.
Interesting. That's interesting. So Trevor Bauer is one of them. JT Realmuto, where do you think he ends up?
JT, I didn't really think of where he would end up. I honestly really think he's going to end up back with Philly just because they need him as a player. And I know Harper was kind of like pitching for it, like kind of like advertising for him. I think like he had like a JT signed Real Muto shirt or
Oh
something.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, he's definitely he's gonna get paid. We know that. But I think as far as where he's gonna go, I think Philly just like bring him back, and then they're gonna get that talent. And honestly, it's just like he's already known the team there, and they traded a lot to get him. I know they traded like their number one prospect to get him. So I think that, and Philly has the money too. I know that like when Mike Trout was almost going to become a free agent, like the Philly fans were just like
Bryce was.
constant.
I know. Bryce Harper was kind of.
Right.
Did he get fined? Did he get fined?
I don't know. I
I,
don't know that off the top of my head, but I know like I see like Philly fans on Twitter and like Instagram saying Mike Trout's coming to Philly. He's coming. He's headed home. Here he
yeah.
comes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was just like I just tried to like tune my head out because I was like, we don't know the situation. He hasn't said anything.
So you were
And
nervous
so
at one point. You were nervous for a minute.
I was a little nervous, but I was just like, we still got 2 years of him, and we're not going to trade him. Obviously, I even was worried about that, but I was just like, we saw Harper go into free agency. The Nationals didn't even want to trade him, so I was just like, you're not going to trade Trout. So I was just waiting it out, seeing what was going to happen, and then the extension happens. Now I know Philly fans were kind of like bummed out that they were like, man, Trout's going to stay in Anaheim and he's just going to go out there and try to win a ring, right? But at the same time, I think Philly fans are also, there was a couple that were grateful because they said, hey, we have more money. Like they have more money to
Yeah.
spend. Now
Yeah.
that Trout's not going to sign anywhere else. So I saw like one person say, we can extend Real Muto. Like that's a benefit to us having money. So I think why not just go out there, see, like extend him an offer, and I think he'll take it because he obviously knows the team, and then he'll get the money.
Okay. Okay. So JT Realmuto coming back. I saw a report that the Mets will probably offer him like a 5-year deal. So that's, I mean, it's possible now. Steve Cohen out there. George Springer, the cheating bastard. What do you think about him?
Well, I mean, you just said it yourself. I mean, he is a cheater. We can say that. There's no denying that. But I'm not too sure where he'll end up landing. I think teams are going to be skeptical, even with like you said, the media trying to like downplay the whole Astros cheating scandal.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's gonna have some heads turn because I didn't really see him like getting a whole lot of production once like this season and then like even seasons prior. I mean, he's still a good player, but just like that 2017 was just like, man, everyone on the Astros is hitting. And so it was just like to see them now, I think teams are just gonna be like questioning it, saying, well, how much of that is legit? Like how much
Yes.
of it is legit? And I think he's just it's gonna be him selling himself to the teams, not the teams coming to him.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Do you find it, we'll get a little bit off topic on this. Do you find it a little skeptical or a little weird that the Astros couldn't buy a hit, couldn't connect offensively? But the postseason, all of a sudden, they were able to find the ball. Who did they get? I know the A's were one of the teams. The Twins. Do you find it weird, or do you think they were cheating in the playoffs? Not the regular season, just in the playoffs.
No, not at all. I think the cheating scandal is behind them. I think all of Major League Baseball wants to move on from it. I do think they were legit in the playoffs, but at the same time, I think that's more actually going on the Angels because it came down to 3 games.
Yup, against the Dodgers, and it wasn't like it wasn't like we were going off. We put our B team out there. We didn't have Mookie Betts all game.
Right.
We didn't have Corey Seager all game. We gave you guys the opportunity to get that. I remember that.
Right.
I even posted it out there. Hey, I'm not saying we should let these 3 games go and lose them, like outright lose them. But the opportunity is there for the Angels. If they win these 3 games, they're in the playoffs, and the Astros miss out. So, yeah, yeah,
You said it yourself, right? And so I saw a tweet and it was pretty funny because it was just like the Astros like stumbled their way into the playoffs and they just picked themselves up and now they're just like rolling up past the Twins, the A's, and basically almost to the World Series.
yeah,
So it was just like I don't know how like they let that happen because it was just like the perfect scenario for the Angels. It's like okay, it's pretty impossible, but then when I saw the Astros losing, I was just like, okay, this is just like a match made in heaven, right?
yes,
And sure enough, the Angels ended up losing, and we saw what happened. The Astros caught steam. I think it was just more about the Astros catching steam, not cheating. And it was just like a bad timing. I mean, teams go through their slumps.
yeah.
I think the Astros just hit that slump, and something in them just said, all right, it's the postseason. We need to be better because we don't even deserve to be here, honestly.
16 teams. That was, oh my God, that was so dumb. Oh, actually, I don't know. What did you think about the 16 teams in the postseason?
Yeah. So for this season, I think it was okay. I mean, there was some.
Experiment. You got to experiment.
It was an experiment, and I think with shorter games and stuff, I think 2020's been a weird year. I think everyone can agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so might as well have more teams if you're gonna have 60 games. I had talked to Victor Rojas, the play-by-play announcer for the Angels, and he even said honestly, he's like, it's probably gonna be a crapshoot with 60 games
Yeah.
because you're gonna have teams going like really good and go like I don't know, like 20-7 or something like their first whatever many games. And then you have like teams that are going to be struggling like the Angels did at the start of the season. So he was just saying like, you don't know what we're going to get with 60 games. It's too hard to tell.
Yeah.
And that when the agreement was to add 16 teams to the playoffs, I just thought, okay, this is a better deal for them just because we don't know what kind of teams we're getting. And again, that goes back to the Astros. We don't know what teams we're kind of getting. And so they obviously, like I said, they struggled at the end and then got in and they just lit a fire and started going. So I think 60 games wasn't enough, but I think for this year only, it was a good thing. I'm not too sure where we're going to see them next season with the whole 16 teams because I would probably want them to go back to the way it was. But I mean, if you want to add maybe like 2 more teams or something like just to get it a little bit more competitive, but I probably wouldn't go back to the same format. I think it only worked for this 2020 season.
Agreed. Agreed. What about the DH? Do you bring that back?
For both leagues,
Well, yeah.
I probably would. And I know there's like kind of like the people that are saying like, no, we like to see pitchers hit and stuff. And like,
Traditionalists.
yeah, the journalists mostly, and it's just like I mean I've even seen it on social media. It makes me laugh. They're like, yeah, everyone loves to see a pitcher go like 0 for 100 or 1 for 100 and like that one is like a home run.
Yeah.
Like I mean, and you're going to open up more jobs because even you said it yourself, if the DH is in the National League, Turner's coming back probably as a DH. Say they get ARENADO, Turner's like, hey, no problem. I can just be the everyday hitter. And so I think that even opens up a even bigger market for those hitters that just hit.
Yeah.
So I think even like free agency, they said some of those hitters are going to wait and see where the league is standing with DH in the National League. Because if there's a DH in the National League, I think their pay even goes up because they're going to have more suitors.
Oh, wow.
I think that even like a Springer, he can go for the DH, and you can DH him a couple of days.
So you think George Springer is gonna get paid?
Again, it's gonna be him selling himself and not the teams coming to him. I think he's gonna get a decent amount, but it's gonna be the teams really kind of like leaning back in their chair, so to speak, and say like kind of with a smile and be like, how much of that was legit? Like
Off the record. Like we're in a closed room, off the record. Yeah.
Yeah, like kind of like how much of that was legit? How much was really going on in the whole cheating thing?
Well,
Like,
like maybe 3 games in 2019, another 6 games in 2020, and then you figure out that they were still cheating in 2020. But yeah.
right. So I mean, it's gonna be him selling himself. I think like other guys like Real Muto, Bauer are gonna be the teams are gonna be coming to him. And with Springer, I think he's just gonna have to sell himself a little bit more. But if say like the DH goes in the National League, I think he's gonna have an even better shot.
Okay, okay. DJ LeMahieu, where do you think he ends up?
DJ LeMahieu, I mean,
He's playing
he
MVP caliber ball right now, like even at his
he
age right now.
definitely. I mean, like you said, MVP caliber ball, and I know Yankees fans really want to see him coming back. And I mean, again, it'll come back to the DH and the whole National League because you're gonna have a guy that's like, say he's hurt with the ankle or something like that, but he's like, I can still hit. Like, I can at least swing a bat and probably go for a double or hit a bomb because it's mostly gonna be in my leg and stuff. And so I think LeMahieu's gonna get even more traction if the DH is in the National League because then obviously you're opening up a bigger market. And I think for the Yankees, they just really need to sign him because they there's that hole.
Yeah.
I mean, they've talked about maybe like for the Angels side of things, they talked about getting Simmons from the Angels and like probably sign him to like a 1 or 2 year deal or something like that. And I mean, which isn't terrible, but I mean, you want LeMahieu ideally if you're a Yankees fan. You're gonna want LeMahieu, and you're gonna want him to stay there. But I think it's gonna come down to them waiting it out and seeing how the whole DH thing is gonna get resolved. Once that thing is resolved, I think we're gonna see an even bigger market, and I think we're gonna see teams from the National League like say the Mets or some like the Mets go in and go pick off the Yankees like their rival and just be like, sorry, LeMahieu's ours now. And
Damn. Oh.
yeah, I mean it'll become we're gonna hear teams that are like out of nowhere and it's gonna be like, why the National League? Well, because the DH is here, so they have an even bigger reason to get them.
All right, let's talk about 2021. Who is your sleeper team to not only make it in the postseason, but potentially be a World Series favorite that no one else is seeing right now?
Yeah, so for sleepers, I mean, I'm gonna say it's the New York Mets probably, just because they got Cohen and they
The
got his
Cohen.
money, and obviously it's gonna come down to payroll. I mean, obviously we talked about it, like he's worth like $30 billion or whatever.
Jeez,
I mean,
man.
obviously it's not gonna all go directly to payroll. He's gonna be. I know he already did like great stuff for the team like I think he paid off like their full salaries for like workers,
Yeah,
stadium
five
workers.
hundred extra dollars, I think, or something like that. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
heard about that.
I mean, it was a good, friendly, just deal for them, and just showing like, hey, I support the community. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just in this for the money. I'm not just in it to just like buy a World Series. No, I'm here for the community. And so I think he already like bought the hearts of people in New York. And I think that again with the whole money thing, I think they're a sleeper just because they're going to be in the market for Bauer, LeMahieu. They're in the market for these star hitters and pitchers that I mean we didn't see before with the New York Mets. We kind of just saw them with the whole Will Pond situation. It's like once they get a new owner, then they'll start being relevant. Well, now we saw it, and I think they're going to be the sleeper for the National League.
So I heard a story. I'm at my job. There's a guy that's from New York, Staten Island, and I asked him, "Are you a Mets fan or a Yankees fan or Boston?" He goes, "I'm a Mets fan. Respect for the Yankees." And I love hearing that New York accent. That's how I
Mm-hmm.
picked up on on who he was and where he was from. Then he
Uh,
said he told me the story that Wilpon was connected to Bernie Madoff. Are you familiar with Bernie Madoff?
I've heard his name, not too much on his history.
That's
No.
the guy with the Enron situation that swindled billions of dollars from investors, and he's in jail right now for pretty much stealing money from the rich.
Okay.
He was tied in with them, so Wilpon lost a lot of money, and that's when Wilpon went into, oh, I can't spend so much money on free agents and really like extend our players. We're gonna have to let them go. And I think the last big signing that they had was Yoenis Cespedes, which honestly hasn't panned out yet. So that's the weird thing. Now that you add Stephen Cohen, you're bringing new life into that organization where 5 years ago they were in the World Series and then they just fell off. So it's crazy the journey that they had. So you have the Mets as your sleeper team.
Yes, and then I believe for the American League, I mean, it's kind of a harder like to kind of judge it because I mean, when you look at it, I think the AL West is going to be like the mostly shaken up one, just because of the we don't really know where the Angels are going to go.
Mm-hmm.
The A's always seem to find their way in it, even though like on paper, a lot of fans are like, "Really, this is the team we get?" Like,
And they go in to
it's
win
funny,
97 games.
right? And it's crazy because it's like all those like prediction like computers, those like Pacoda and like the supercomputer, like they predict them out, and they always find a way to like sneak in there or even win the division. And I mean, I would say the A's as like a sleeper, but I mean they're in it every year. So I mean, it's hard to kind of like depict on where it's gonna go. But I mean, if you want a definitive answer, I'd probably honestly say the Angels, just because we haven't seen them in the playoffs, and I know they want to get to the postseason. They've said, "Hey, we're trying to get Trout to the postseason,"
Yeah.
and so I mean, I think this is the year that they kind of just like retool, refigure it out. They got a new GM, and I think they could be a potential sleeper just because, yeah, they have those big names, but they're not in it. So I mean, I could see them as a sleeper, not no one like really talking about them, but they find their way in.
I mean, you're getting Shohei Otani. Is Shohei Otani gonna pitch again, or is he just gonna focus more on being a hitter?
Yeah, I'm not too sure with Otani. I know he was only doing the whole DH thing, and then we saw him at the beginning of 2020, and he just looked awful. It was just like something's wrong. Like everyone like knew it. We saw like I think it was against the A's where he gave up like 7 runs
Yeah, he got rocked.
in
Yeah.
like an inning, and everyone was just like, no, there's something wrong with him. And so they checked him, and obviously he had the whole arm issue again. And I mean, everyone's like, is this a bust? Like, is Otani a bust? And I just don't see him being a bust. I see him actually like getting back to trying to get back to where he was. I mean, when he first came to the Angels, I was obviously enthusiastic about it, but I was also wondering like how much of this is legit. Like, obviously we're having a two-way player. We've never seen that. Like, I was like the same caliber, like be great at like hitting and pitching.
Since Babe Ruth back in 1916.
Right. And I mean, obviously we weren't alive for
Yeah.
that, so it was like, I mean, how much of it was legit? So I think based on what like he's been like kind of not saying, but just like what he's been showing, I think he can get back to the pitching and hitting respectively. But I would honestly want to see him more of the pitcher, just because the writers and like scouts had said, hey, if he's stuck with pitching, he can be an ace. Like he can legit like help out a rotation.
Interesting.
And if he focused on that, honestly, it would benefit the Angels because they need the pitching. And so, I mean, I want him to do both. As a fan, you want him to do both. But as someone trying to run a team, I'd honestly say, hey, take a break from the hitting. Let's focus on the pitching because that's where our need is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I believe it. I believe you. I'll believe you. I'll take your word for it. I was gonna lean towards the Chicago White Sox, but you kind of sold me on the A's. I mean, on the Angels. I'm sorry, you sold me on the Angels, so I'll go for that as my sleeper team for the American League. As for the National League, based on what happened, where they completely just outright upset the Cubs, I'm going with the Marlins as a sleeper team. I mean, out of nowhere, they came out of nowhere. They were out of the league because of the whole coronavirus thing for what 14 or 16 games. They had to replay back-to-back games against the Braves, against the Cardinals, and then just came back and they swept the Cubs. So I think I would go with the Marlins as my sleeper team for the National League. But 2021, who do you think is going to be in the World Series?
Man, I mean, we haven't even gone through off season
Yeah, I
yet.
know.
So,
I know. I like doing this so that way we could see like how off we were or how close we were.
I mean, I even said it. I made a prediction in 2020, like the start of 2020. And I mean, I could see it again. I'll go Dodgers and the Yankees just because I like what the Yankees have. They went to the postseason. They showed, hey, we're still the kings of the AL, but obviously they ended up kind of getting dethroned by the Rays. But I could see the Dodgers and Yankees, and honestly, that's like I'm like something about it's just like this like old fashioned like Dodgers Yankees like it seems like something out of like old school like black and white. It's like here comes the Dodgers, here comes the Yankees, and like the Bronx Bombers versus the Boys in Blue, and like I don't know. I just see it as like a kind of like a classic.
Well, the Yankees and the Dodgers have faced each other in the World Series. It's double digits. I don't know how many times. I think 11 or 12 times, and the Dodgers have only beat them twice.
Mm.
But yeah, that rivalry is there. So I don't know. It, I just like seeing like what's gonna happen. But Dodgers and Yankees, we were supposed to have it since 2017. Then the Astros happened, but I feel you on that. I'm not, and I've every year I've said the same thing. Dodgers and Yankees in the World Series. Dodgers and Yankees in the World Series since 2017, and it doesn't happen. So now I'm just gonna go Dodgers and I don't know. It's gonna be. It's always It's the most random team. It's always the most random team. The Nationals last year. The
Right.
Nationals really. The Nationals who were like, what? What was their record? They always keep mentioning every time they bring up their World Series championship how far back they were in the title run. But the Nationals last year, then the year before that was Boston Red Sox. That hurt. Then the Astros out of nowhere. Well, we know what happened there. 2016 was the Cubs and Indians, which were also random. 15, the Kansas City Royals. That one was random as well. But then you look back at this team and how good they were. So I don't know. What's the most random team you can think of right now, right off the top of your head?
Oakland A's, honestly. I
Okay.
mean, they I mean, I know the president of operations, Billy Bean. I know he was kind of like talking. There was rumor that he could leave and go like start with a soccer team. I think in Boston.
Oh wow.
He might move his talent over to soccer.
Wow. Okay.
Right. And so, I mean, I don't know how much of that is legit. They haven't really like said anything. But I mean, I kind of feel for A's fans just because they get there every year into the postseason and their hearts get immediately broken because they just can't get over that hump. And like to see them eliminate the White Sox and like see like their fans like blowing up on Twitter and
Yeah.
social media, like, we finally won, like
Yeah.
we're finally good. Like it was like pretty cool to see them like, hey, you guys finally got your moment, like cool. And then just kind of seeing like, all right, well now we go up against the Astros and we get
Demolished.
eliminated by them and
Oh,
stuff. So like, I mean, off the top of my head, I would say randomest team is the A's just because they are the random team. I feel like they're like the most random team in the AL just because like everyone writes them off because like they have almost like no like for sure thing out of like Matt Chapman and like Matt Olson, like those like consistent players. But then you have like a 2 year signing from like Chris Davis or like I don't know how many years it was, but like Chris Davis comes over to the A's and he was just like he had like 40 home runs for the
yeah.
A's, and I was just like, dude, they have like these random players that just like show up, get a bat, and just start swinging, or like they get a glove and they just start dealing.
Max Muncy would have been one of them.
Max
Max
Muncy would have.
Muncy, and then they gave up on him, like prematurely gave up on him. But yeah, like you're right, random, just random players. But A's do sound like a team that could possibly make it. The Twins, I had them for a moment, but then it's just like every year they just we had Kershaw for a moment, and then I think that whole team, Minnesota, is the Kershaw of baseball. Like the whole team, just the way they are in postseason, they just disappear. Um, but yeah, like Baltimore Orioles, just for some reason, I want to say the Baltimore Orioles will be in the World Series like next year. I don't know how, but I don't know. Just random. But A's do make sense too. Just random, the most random team. But yeah, I think that's pretty much, the gist of it. So we'll end it on a good note. The Dodgers are champions. An Angels fan, legit Angels fan, confirms that this is a title year. Stop hating on it. I appreciate your time, Jacob. Why don't you let everybody know where they can catch you on social media and what you're working on?
Yeah, so for Twitter, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at underscore Jacob Cisneros, JACOBCISNEROS 42. And for Twitter, I'm also there. Like I just dropped the Twitter handle right there. I write for Dodgers Lowdown, Halo Hangout, and Student Union Sports.
All right, cool, cool. Well, Jacob, hopefully we can do this again. It's pretty soon. We'll stay in touch. We'll message each other, do all that stuff, and hopefully we have some good news, more baseball talk we could talk about. So with that, thanks for being on. Appreciate your time. Everybody out there that's still stuck around for this hour talk. Appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you guys next time. See you guys.
Thanks for having me.
God, seems like 1,000 years ago. I fought my way out of that cave, became Iron Man.